Hello, Hamish here from mortgagesonline.co.nz. I've got Griffin with me. He's a friend of mine. He lives in Wellington, but he started working and moving out to, well, travelling to back and forth from Christchurch a little bit. And then you even have just invested in Christchurch, right? A rental property.
That's Ramesh. How are you?
Good, good, man. Thanks for joining us. And so, what made you think Christchurch?
The price and the rental yield. I was looking to buy for last 2, 3 months. Done some research in Greater Wellington region, Wairarapa, Napier, Hastings, but numbers kind of stacked up down in Christchurch. So yeah, that made me actually making that decision down there.
And I think in Christchurch, where would you suggest if you're looking for that kind of 4 to 500 grand mark to get in to a place with a good yield in Christchurch? What would you suggest to start kind of look at?
Well, in that price range, what I've seen through my research, you can stay relatively closer to the city center. So you can stay quite close to offices and have opportunity to have a lot of renters there. So I see Christchurch pretty much in circles. So on the screen where you see the red dot, so the first circle I would name the suburbs around Richmond, Sydenham, Riccarton, and St Albans. So, all 4 suburbs on 4 different sides. So that we could say the first circle, it's about 5 to 7 minutes drive from the city center.
Hmm.
Pretty much all the suburbs on the, except right, all other suburbs, top, bottom, and left are pretty good to buy in right now in that price bracket.
Yep. Okay, so that's not bad. You can get quite close to the city, but 4 to 500, you'd say maybe even a bit further out, Papanui, Riccarton, and kind of onwards a little bit, maybe out here.
Yeah, it's a second circle, which would possibly be about 5 to 10 minutes drive, going all the way up to these suburbs, which are Papanui, Shockburn, Spraydon, Summerfield, Linwood. So that's kind of wides it a little bit, about up to 10 minutes drive from the city center. They are relatively good too. The good thing about Christchurch is it's quite flat, and it's not spread like Auckland and Wellington. So driving times is relatively very, very low. Doesn't matter which part of the city you go in, and that makes it really unique.
And what kind of rent? So if you're buying for a house for 400 grand, what kind of rent could you expect?
Recently the one we purchased, it is in mid threes, and currently rented out for 400 a week.
Okay, wow. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is if you are out there looking, and I think you mentioned probably to the left-hand side of the centre, it was probably less affected by earthquakes and things. But what kind of due diligence, what kind of things would you check if you're hunting out in Christchurch?
I think a little bit different than rest of the country, specifically because of earthquakes. So two things becomes very, very important there. Number one, looking on to the insurance, making sure there are no claims open on the property from any past damages, and to make sure we go through EQC report in quite detailed, and have our lawyers look at that report as well.
Okay, and okay, cool. Now, interestingly enough, you mentioned something to me the other day about over 60s houses in Christchurch, right? How do they work?
It was a new concept to me as well when I started looking down there. So a lot of units, usually the 2 bedrooms unit, and that's for the people who downsizing, getting into their 60s. So only available for over 60s people to live in. Doesn't mean that if you are under 60, you will buy them as
Sorry, I
rentals.
lost your voice there for a second on our recording, but yeah, so I think you were going to say that you don't have to be over 60 to buy, so you can buy as an investment at any age, but you can only rent it out to over 60s.
Over 60. So yeah, there are certain rules around these societies, and they look on amending these rules quite frequently, pretty much on annual basis. So as an investor, you need to stick to these rules around what kind of people you can get into these properties, and make sure your tenants complies to these properties as well. Good thing is these properties are really cash positive, so very good price, and not a lot of competition for these properties to buy in, and possibly getting tenants to start with is a little bit hard, but once they are tenanted out, your tenancy cycles are very long.
So much higher yield than a normal property, but obviously the trade-off is that when you go to sell, you're only selling to an investor or someone who's over 60 who wants to live in it, obviously, or wants to rent it out.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Well, hey, thank you for your time, Griffin. I hope, thanks for sharing your thoughts with our viewers.
Yeah, wonderful. No, I think from my experience, I found it to be really interesting time right now in Christchurch. It's coming out of all the damages happened due to earthquakes. We haven't seen quite big capital gains in recent times, what we're seeing across the country. So I think that makes it really unique right now, because it could be the possible next city which start booming soon.
Yeah, and I think it is probably you got to remember it's still a fairly major city, and with that last earthquake and the things that happened, I mean, people are pretty resilient. They didn't all just pack up and move. It's still one of our biggest cities in New Zealand.
Absolutely, and when we think about Auckland and Wellington against Christchurch, prices are already skyrocketed in both places. So next one possibly be that city, and we always need to be thinking it's still about 400,000 plus people residing there.
Yeah. Cool. Well, hey, thanks for watching as well, and thanks, Griffin, for sharing your thoughts. Hopefully that has been helpful.